Right, so good evening, guys, and welcome to the next installation of the Quantum Leap Business Show. I'm here with the founder of the VA Copy College, Chantelle Davison. Chantelle will be showing you how to craft compelling copy and how to create transformational stories. So I'd like to give it over to Chantelle Davison now. Welcome to the show, Chantelle.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me this afternoon. It's great to be here. So yes, as you say, my name is Chantelle Davison and I'm a copywriter and a copywriting coach. I'm all about fluff-free magnetic copy because your clients and audience are busy, and that is absolutely not going to be changing going into the new year. So this afternoon, I'm going to walk you through what makes fantastic copy, how you can improve the copy in your business going into the next business year. And there's going to be a few exercises throughout to get the cogs whirring. So I suggest having a notepad or open Google Doc to get some notes down if you fancy. So let's get going. So yes, as I've already introduced, I'm Chantelle and I'm a copywriter and copywriting coach. My story in entrepreneurship began about 4 years ago. I was working in corporate sales and hit a wall, to be honest. I was really unhappy, very anxious, in that classic situation with a restructure and a boss who was making my life miserable. And so I quit without a plan and started my own business, and found fairly quickly, thankfully, that I had a knack for combining my sales background with my love of writing, and copywriting felt like a really natural fit. Having spent probably the last 15 to 20 years since I was very young ghostwriting for my father, it felt like a really natural fit to move into writing in other people's brand voice. So that was how I came about being a copywriter. And now I run Choice Words by Chantelle, where I offer high converting, done for you copy, as well as copy coaching for people looking to improve their skills, which of course is why I'm here today. So just to start off with the basics, to make sure we're all on the same page, I don't want to teach you to suck eggs, so I'm not going to dwell on this at all. But copy, to me, when I define it, means any of the words in your business that compel people to take an action. So whether we're talking about making a purchase, an investment of time, money, energy for something you can give them in return. And the reason that matters is pretty straightforward. You could have the best product or service in the world, and you will fail if you don't tell people about it in a way that communicates its value, which means it's pretty important to all of us here, I'm guessing. So whether you're creating copy for your own business or looking to write copy for others, having a good grasp on how to write effectively is a really valuable skill. So today I'm going to start off by walking us through 3 of the most common mistakes that I see business owners making with their copy. First of all, you are making your business the hero of the story. The key to storytelling as a business is to make your ideal client the hero of the story, with an obstacle to overcome and your business as the guide. Ideally, you want to think of yourself as the Yoda to their Skywalker, the donkey to their Shrek, whatever works for you, whatever fits in your lane. The hero has a challenge to overcome and a journey to embark on. And the guide is there to provide a solution and, really importantly, a plan. When someone lands on your website, receives your email, reads a social media caption, what they want to know is, what's in it for me? Does this person get me? And how can they help? And if you can answer those questions and tell them a story of their potential transformation, you have copy gold. There's a really brilliant book I recommend that explores this concept a lot more, and we're going to talk about it a little bit more later. But if you haven't read it yet, Building a Story Brand by Donald Miller is absolutely essential reading for anyone running a business looking to sell and market their services. So, common mistake number 2, you're being cute, clever, and confusing. Invisible language is when you use words that sound great but mean nothing. So let's take an example. A company that sells weight loss meal plans might have a slogan like, "Be the best you can be." But without context, we don't actually know what they're selling. We're not excited by the product or how it solves our problems. It's marketing speak. And trust me, your audience have a very finely tuned bullshit radar, and they are not afraid to use it. What if the same company had the slogan, "Enjoy your meals and lose weight without breaking the bank"? We start to get clear then on what the benefits and what the differentiator is. And we'll talk about the differentiator a little more in just a second. Big mistake number 3. You're not raising the stakes. Let's be clear, I'm definitely not suggesting scare tactics, but if a reader doesn't think there's anything to lose by not reading on, using your services, or buying your product, they won't. They have no skin in the game. People can get this one wrong, so let's be crystal clear. Scare tactics, bad. Clear, honest articulation of the stakes, consequences, or potential loss if someone doesn't take action makes for compelling copy. People often feel, understandably, extremely uncomfortable with this element of copywriting and selling. But the truth is, without raising the stakes, you're essentially telling your prospective client they don't need you. People do not invest in things they like, they invest in things they need. And every single human being gets that prickle in the back of their neck when they find something or someone they think can help them survive and thrive. It's evolution. So if you can identify the problem you help your client solve, you can articulate why they need you, your product, and your service. So now that we know copy is any writing in your business that compels someone to take action and how to avoid the 3 most common mistakes, let's talk about how we can make sure it actually sells. Because fundamentally, copy that sells hits 4 key notes. 1, it gets your customer or your potential customer's attention. Number 2, it communicates clearly and connects. We want to be concise and keep our messaging simple. You do not want your reader to have to be a specialist or a genius to understand what you're telling them. And you want to create connection by demonstrating that you understand them. Ultimately, people want to be seen, heard, and understood. 3, it persuades and demonstrates value. This is the selling part. This is where we explain the transformation, the benefits, the value of whatever you're selling in a way that makes the reader realize their life would be better if they had it. And finally, and most importantly, it calls them to action. There is no point selling someone something in theory. Selling someone something in practice means telling them how, where, when they can get it, buy it, attend that event. It gives someone a clear path to purchase. So the gap between wanting it and having it is easily bridged. I love this quotation because one of the greatest tools a copywriter has at their disposal, any business owner has, is their humanity. We as human beings want to be seen, heard, and understood. Maslow's hierarchy of needs, everyone's heard of this. People talk about it in marketing all the time, but it's relevant. It shows us that this acknowledgement of our existence, of our identity, is essential to our well-being. And people are full of desires, dreams, hopes, fears. There is absolutely no shortage of want in the world. The key then is linking that want that exists out there in the world to the product or service you provide. Or, even better, identifying a want, need, desire, and creating a product or service that solves that problem for people. So to sell, we need to understand how people feel, what they want, and what motivates them to purchase. One of the biggest misconceptions that people have about copywriting, advertising, is that it should always be clever. You know, we watch Mad Men and we hear them come up with these brilliant witticisms and advertising campaigns. But the truth is, the most important thing your copy can be is clear. If you don't already have incredibly high brand awareness, you're not going to get away with the sort of nonsense perfume ads use. The most important thing your advertisements can be is clear. Brené Brown's quote here absolutely nails it for me. Clear is kind, unclear is unkind. So how can we ensure that our copy is clear? These are my top 10 tips for making sure your copy is clear. Number 1, cut the jargon. You want what you're saying to be easy to understand. Don't make people work for it and don't alienate them with language they're not going to connect with. 2, put your selling point front and center. Make the most obvious point first. Don't bury the lead. 3, break your copy up into short, easy to consume pieces. Make it easy. And don't use unnecessarily long sentences or paragraphs or words. This is not a syllable counting winning game. So just stop trying to sound smart when you're selling. We do not need to be a walking thesaurus to sell our services. Be concise. Don't use 10 words when one will do. The key to getting your messaging right is to communicate it as clearly and quickly as you can. And be specific. We'll touch on this a bit more in a second, relating to your ideal client's specific language so that you can connect with them and create really magnetic copy that attracts the right people. But this is all about being specific wherever you can. Talk about the details that matter to your people. And number 7, make it conversational. Remember, you are talking to one person. Unlike presentations like this, where I am talking to a few people at once, when someone opens an email, lands on your website, looks at social media, they are alone. They are scrolling alone. So make sure that it feels like a conversation. Keep it informal, keep it friendly, directed at them. And of course, it's 2021. We're going to want to be inclusive if at all possible. Please make sure you're not using overly gendered language, not using any language that offends or excludes people. We want to be really careful about making sure that our product or service is available for and safe for and inclusive for everyone in our audience. Number 9, make it about the reader. Hate to tell you, but people are selfish. We want to know what's in it for us. So focus on the benefits, not the features of what you're selling. How will what you're selling make my life better? That's all I care about. And finally, break all of the rules you learned in school. To be clear, you can go ahead and use and or but at the beginning of a sentence. Copy it should be how you speak. It should flow. So chop it up, make short sentences, use dashes if they feel good. Write like a human, not like Spock. The goal is to sound like a person. So how can you ensure your copy captures the attention of the right people? Because let's be honest, people are really, really busy. They don't have time to look for and discover what you're selling. So your copy needs to grab them and not let go. It needs to capture their attention. It needs to clearly, simply, and specifically tell them what you're selling. On the internet, people, ourselves included, I'm sure, are constantly bombarded with messages, adverts, information. So consumers have become really savvy. How many adverts do you think people see on a daily basis? I looked this up recently and it's just over 5,000, which I found remarkable and terrifying. So people are busy and they are immune to your nonsense. They notice hype tactics. They notice sly sales moves. They know what we're doing. So the way we sell has to change. Consumers need to feel like copy is actually relevant to them in their lives in order to engage. It has to hit one of their pain points, talk to what's keeping them up at night in a cold sweat, or else it has to speak to one of their greatest desires. It's therefore through clarity and specificity that we create connection and therefore sales. And the level of specificity required to create that really deep, meaningful connection requires that we know the person we're talking to very, very well. Which is why one of the most important elements to get right in your business is understanding exactly who you're talking to. You will have all heard, I'm sure, of a customer ideal client avatar. Again, I'm not going to teach you to suck eggs. You are business people. You've probably been on marketing courses. So what I will go over is, in order to write the copy you want to write in your business to attract these ideal clients, what is it you need to know about them? Because everything you write in your business should be talking to this one person, a conversation with this one real or imaginary human being. They're the human face on the other side of everything you do in your business. So you need to have a pretty good think about what they like and who they are. It's a constantly evolving process too. So make sure you're reflecting on this regularly. This is not a once and done, put it on the shelf, I've got an ideal client avatar, so I never need to think about it again kind of process. If you're coming up with new services, if you're writing new copy, new sales pages, you need to be revisiting this person and checking in that they're still the person you want to work with most. So what do you need to know about this person? Well, obviously you need to know who they are. You need to know what makes them tick, what matters to them, what they are like, what they enjoy, what their life looks like. You need to know what they need. You need to understand what they're struggling with, what their hopes, dreams, fears, and desires are. that thing that's keeping them up at night in a cold sweat. And most importantly, you need to know how to connect those things to what you do. How can you help them? Which of the challenges, desires they have match up with the skill set that you have in your business? What products or services do you have that can help those people? As human beings, we're always looking for some kind of change, improvement, transformation. And as a service provider, our job is to identify the core of that transformational journey and what part we can play in making it happen. That is how we win dream clients, by making them feel like their dreams are more attainable with you by their side. We'll talk a little bit more about that in a second when we go through the storytelling. But for now, let's focus on how we can fully understand the client and tease out the language that we need to use to connect with them. What I do to keep track of any specific client or brand voice I work with or ideal client is I keep something I call a copy file. So it can be a spreadsheet, a Google Doc, it really doesn't matter. It can be a notebook or a chalkboard, whatever works for you. But it's all about keeping track of the language that your ideal client uses. It's a resource you can build and grow as you move throughout your business, as you speak to more ideal clients, as you get more results and understand more about what makes them tick. So here's a few of the ways that I love to call it mining for client language, because I think that's exactly what it is. So here are a few really great tools for doing just that. So Answer the Public is my absolute favorite. It is a free resource for one search a day. You can buy premium, but I just set a reminder to do a search every day and download the results to review later. So essentially, it's a search engine that allows you to search for a keyword relating to your product, your service, or your client, and find all of the most searched for questions and phrases relating to that keyword. This can help you identify challenges or questions your ideal client might have about the topic. Google-related searches are a similar tool. So you can find out, other than what you have typed in, what are people also searching for? So if someone is looking to find out what makes good copy, I can find a list of other questions they are asking so that I can start creating content that's going to be speaking directly to them using the words they are likely to be using. Facebook groups are another great tool for this. If you hang out in Facebook groups where your ideal client is, which hopefully you do, you can use the search box to look for keywords or phrases relating to what you do. And then you can go in and offer help and support and position yourself as an expert. But you can also use that language to inform your copy. Finally, straight up market research. It's usually my favorite, just directly asking people who meet my ideal client avatar, what do you like? What do you do? What are your challenges? What bugs you? People are pretty good about offering up their time in exchange for maybe a cheeky little discount, maybe a bottle of wine. It's Christmas, right? So whatever works. But people are pretty good at offering that time if you ask nicely. So direct consumer research can be really important there. So once you've nailed down exactly who you're talking to, identified what they fear or desire, and research the kind of language they're likely to respond to, it's time to ask yourself where your service or product fits in that journey. This is where you establish your value. This is where you get really clear on how you sell your product or service. So, some questions to ask yourself. What pain do you help people avoid? How can you get your ideal clients closer to their dream? And how might their life be easier with your product or service in it? This is all great fodder for sales page copy, for email content. So we've covered how to make sure your copy is clear and specific. How can we talk about making sure it's persuasive, aka that it sells? One of the most important elements to crafting copy that sells is to make sure you're talking about the benefits and not the features. You may have heard the phrase, sell the sizzle, not the sausage. I love it. Rather than talking about the good quality ingredients, the delicious taste, the consistency, we talk about how satisfied you'll feel at the end of the day, knowing your family are well fed. And the same goes for our service. Rather than telling them about the contents of every module on our course or every single tool we're going to use to fix their bathroom, whatever we do, we tell them why that matters to them. What will your service or product make possible for them that wouldn't be possible without it? How will their life be better? Describe that, talk about the benefits, and you'll sell the sausage too. One of the most useful phrases that you will ever use in your business is "so you can." If you go through your website, through your sales page, through your emails, and you find that what you're doing is listing features, add the phrase "so you can" and finish the sentence to all of those features. It is a game changer. Rather than we'll have weekly Q&As, you will have weekly Q&As so you can ask all your burning questions, receive support from the community, and create connections that generate more referrals. What is the "so you can" to every feature in your business? So a few tips for making sure our copy is persuasive. We want to start with a headline that grips our customers with our most compelling benefit. What is the one thing that they need to know they're going to get from your product or service? 2, we need to demonstrate why they need it. Chances are, if you're selling something and aren't a totally cynical human, it's because you believe people actually need it. So explain what that need is, especially if it's not one that will be immediately obvious to them. And then 3, position your service, your product as the solution to that need. You've convinced them they need something, so position yourself as the solution. 4, you need to overcome objections in advance with social proof. You will need to do more than explain that you're brilliant. People need proof. So how can you demonstrate the value of your product or service versus your competitors? Well, you can look at what clients have said in the past. You can use evidence, statistics to back up that your way is the best way. 5, it's really important to make sure your calls to action are clear and direct. I have lost count of the amount of times I've landed on sales pages to do audits where every single call to action says something like, "We should chat," or "interested?" ? No, we need "buy now," "enroll now," "book a call," "book a meeting," anything that's clear and direct. People don't want to have to guess what they're doing when they click a button. And finally, highlight your unique selling point. What is it that differentiates you from your customers? Be really clear about that. So most copywriting methodology teaches that in order to really connect with people, create that really strong buying pull, you've got to do so on 3 levels. You've got to do it intellectually, what they know to be true, emotionally, what they feel to be true, and personally, which is what experience tells them is true. Copywriter Mark Ford coined the BDF method as a way of connecting on all of these levels. And it means to speak to someone about their beliefs, their desires, and their feelings. So to truly connect, you need to understand what these are about your ideal client. Beliefs. What do they believe about the world, about your product, your industry, your service? What objections might they have? What limiting beliefs might they be holding on to that you can help them overcome? Desires. What do they want? Ultimately, most of all in the world, for themselves and their loved ones, what is their desire? And how can you help them achieve it? And the feelings. What bugs them? What worries them? How do they feel about themselves, other people, their lives? What are the stories they're telling themselves? When we talk about persuasion and creating magnetic copy, it's really important to understand what motivates people. And typically humans are motivated by gain or by loss. We have a much stronger loss aversion bias. So if your product or service can be positioned as helping them avoid pain, you are in a much stronger position. So here there's a list of some things that your product or service might help people gain or might help people lose. Have a think about which things on this list feel relevant to your product or service. Certainly, if you're selling a service, one or other of these, you will be helping people gain something or helping them avoid losing something. Get really clear on what those are, because those are the most important things that you need to be talking about on your sales pages in your email communication. So Can have a quick look at storytelling, because at the heart of all good copy lies stories. The answer to all the big questions I get: how can you sell without being pushy? How can you ensure people keep reading? How can you make sure people move through your funnel, whether it's a sales page, email? How can you keep your clients coming back time and time again? The answer is always stories. They're at the heart of every piece of good copy, no matter whether it's social media, email, website, any piece of your funnel. Again, it comes down to Maslow's hierarchy of needs, like so many things, our basic human needs. People want to be seen, heard, and understood, and stories create connection. And people want to work with people who are like them, and stories help to demonstrate you've been in their shoes. People need to understand what's in it for them. Like I said, they're selfish. Stories help them to picture a brighter future. And people need to know, like, and trust you before they decide to work with you. Stories establish credibility, authority, and experience. One of my favorite authors, like I said, Donald Miller, on this topic, this quotation comes from him. And I love the idea that if you want compelling branding, you have to take the boring parts of the story out. You're only telling people the part that interests them. So let's have a look at what telling a good story means. Well, first of all, you need really clear roles. So you need to know who's the hero. Getting your role right and understanding how to write stories that sell, because not all of them will. The right kind of story knows which role each person plays. Mix these up and sales will suffer. Because the key to storytelling as a business is to make the ideal client the hero of the story with an obstacle to overcome. And your business is the guide. Like I said, you're the Yoda to their Skywalker. You're the Mr. Miyagi to their Karate Kid. The hero has a challenge to overcome and a journey to embark on. And the guide is there to provide a solution and, importantly, a plan. It's really important to distinguish between the client as the hero and the service provider. So let's have a quick look at the qualities of each. Well, a hero faces a nemesis. So there's something that's making their life difficult. They go on a journey, they overcome challenges, learn new things, and they undergo a transformation. They want to end the story as a better version of themselves. Whereas the guide demonstrates authority by having experience with this challenge. They push the hero to achieve their potential and win the day. And they're supportive. They show the hero how to transform their life, how to achieve their goals and overcome their challenges. We all know this trope, right? We see it in films and books, in TV all the time. So what I would love to encourage you to do as a business owner is to start noticing these qualities when you see them, the hero guide tropes, and emulate the good ones. What these characters all have in common, whether it is Donkey to Shrek or Gandalf to Frodo, is that they are guides helping their hero to become a better version of themselves. They all display two really important qualities: empathy and authority. So let's talk briefly about a bad guide. Tinkerbell is a very bad guide. She's supposed to be Peter Pan's secret weapon, have his back and be his friend. She has magic powers, so she could really help a guy out. But instead, what does she do? Well, she gets really petty. She tries to have Wendy murdered. And ultimately, she gives up her friend to Captain Hook, who tries to bomb him, which is not great guiding from Tink. But seriously, the point is that a bad guide makes it about them, not their client, not their hero. Bad guides need to be the hero of the story, the one swooping in, changing someone's life, saving the day with autonomy and drive. They swoop in and rescue rather than advising and empowering. And as service providers, your job is to empower your clients to achieve success. And that means letting them save the day, not you. So the core components of a story then, we have the main character, the conflict, the resolution, that's where you come in, the happy ending, and the differentiator. And the differentiator is really important. What makes this story or solution different from others they've heard? This is really important because there are likely a lot of other people out there doing what you do. You're probably not that special. So you need to figure out what sets your story apart. Why do people love the movies they love? What makes them fall in love with a story? And what makes your clients want to be part of the story only you can invite them into? Of course, no story would be worth telling without a transformation. So it's really important when we're selling to talk about that bridge that we're going to help our clients cross. Where they are right now needs to be made clear. We need to talk about their challenges, their frustrations, their insufficiencies, all making it really clear that change is possible. We also need to talk about the process, what that's going to look like, what they're going to see, hear, feel. We're visceral creatures. We need to understand what we're going to go through. And we need to understand what's waiting for us on the other side. What is the transformation that people will achieve when they work with you? What will be different for them at the end of that journey? What will they be capable of now that they weren't before? So, before we finish up with a few quick tips on editing, I thought I'd show you a couple of examples of this in action. So there's 2 examples here of writing done on a website by a CRM software company. So have a look at these examples and let me know, maybe in the chat, if you're live, which of these you think demonstrates the guide quality of authority best, based on everything that we've talked about. Okay, a couple of people saying. So someone said number 2. So for me, that's absolutely right. This demonstrates authority in a way that makes it about the client. There's a lot of you language in there. There's not a lot of ego. And what's really important is we're talking about what it's going to mean to them, what it's going to make possible for them in the future. Similarly, empathy, the other important quality of a guide. Which of these people do you want to talk to about your deepest, darkest secrets? Is it example 1, who's talking about how important and special and brilliant they are? Or is it number 2, who's talking about a client they've helped, telling you a story of how that could be possible for you too, and telling you that there is transformation possible, there is change possible in the future? Generally speaking, if you're using more we, I language than you are you language in your sales copy, you are doing something wrong. So a few top tips on editing your copy, because that is absolutely half the battle. So number 1, read it aloud. If it sounds clunky or unnatural, cut it down. Try not to use too many adjectives. And if your sentences leave you out of breath, you need to chop them up. 2, contractions are king. Go through and swap out all the that is and the we are and the they are. Contract it. We're, there, that's. It's a conversation, not a formal address. So we need to make sure that we sound like humans. We might not write like we speak, but we read like we hear. It's really important to remember that, because when someone is reading your website copy, if you've got that is and hello, good day, and welcome to my website page, they're going to get a really weird vibe from you. People need to be able to read something like you're a human. So make sure that when you're editing it, even though it feels unnatural, go through and make sure those contractions are in place. And of course, wouldn't be on point given everything we've talked about today if I didn't say, make sure it's about them. Go through and check how many yous and we's and I's we have in this sentence. If there is more we, us, me, we need to be swapping that around. It is not easy when you first start doing it, but with practice, switching those out and just changing that over will become easier. Remove unnecessary that's. That is one of the most overused and incorrectly used words in the English language. We use it about 4 times more than we need to. So comb through your writing and remove every unnecessary that. So for example, the recommendation that you gave me was amazing becomes the recommendation you gave me was amazing. It's unnecessary. We would never say it if we were speaking aloud, but for some reason we keep wedging this word into our copy way more than we need to. So get rid of them and you will notice a big difference. And put yourself in their shoes. Go back and read your copy like you're a stranger with your client's priorities. Consider whether you need to be providing all of the information. If not, take some out, and consider if you're providing everything they do need to hear. If you aren't, add it in. So that is me. I think reasonably well on time to allow for 10 minutes of Q&A. So thank you very much for coming along this afternoon. I've put my details on there. I do also have a free Facebook group, which is called Copy College, Sell Your Services Online. So if you want to come and grab some free tips occasionally, you can find me over there. And if you can answer any questions at all, I'd be happy to do so. I will stop sharing and hop in.
How do you maintain high quality copy when working to harsh deadlines?
We hear you a bit better, Jordan. Sorry, your mic is up again.
You're doing it. I was going to say, how do you maintain high quality copy when working to harsh deadlines?
Great question. Okay, so write in short bursts is usually my advice. If you try and sit down and be creative for 4 or 5 hours at a time, just because it's due that evening or the next day, or you need to get it done, you will burn out and it will stop making any sense. So usually I try and give myself permission to write a really terrible first draft. Just bash it out, just write anything, whatever comes into your brain, get it down there, and then go back and use those editing rules that we've talked about today to refine it and tweak it. Editing is so much easier and so much less stressful than writing something from scratch. So just get rid of that blank page as quickly as you can, get something down. It will never be as bad as you think.
Thanks.
No worries.
Any more questions for Chantelle? All right, so if there are no more questions, thank you very much, Chantelle, and thanks to everyone that attended.